Mulan is here to change the streaming game. So Disney's live-action version of Mulan comes out on Disney Plus today, and you can rent it for $29.99. It'll be on regular Disney Plus or just a regular subscription Disney Plus in December. So the question, of course, is, are you going to pony up the cash now, or are you going to wait? And it was pretty upsetting and frustrating to me when I found out that this is the film that they chose to test this pilot out on in terms of bringing these theatrical films to the premium release format of their streaming platform. Because it's an Asian-led cast. It's just a completely Asian cast. Forget Asian-led. It's Asian. It's an Asian cast. It's a female director, and this means that even if it does exceedingly well, it will always have an asterisk next to its name in terms of profits, and that will naturally impact whether or not we see more movies with big blockbuster budgets, with Chinese or Chinese American or, just Asian stars, with female directors. There's such a trickle-down effect, and we're not in a state where we can have slip-ups. And so if it doesn't perform well, they could basically throw this to the wolves. So should you pay $29.99? Well, that's up to you. The actual answer is yes, you should probably just do it because you are so desperate for content right now. And it's not bad. I was really afraid. I have a lot of fears and hangups and a really complicated relationship with the Disney version of Mulan. And I actually had so much to say about it that I wrote it down. And I'll be exploring it further soon with friends that you can listen to. But the write-up is on the website. But the shorter version of this is going to be, yes, if you grew up with Mulan, this is not necessarily going to hit you in the nostalgia bone. There are references to the animated version, but they're not really trying to do the sort of shot-for-shot remake the way that, and calling it live action is absolute BS, but the Lion King did. I think this is the most successful of the live-action adaptations because it did acknowledge that it was just a live-action film. They've added a couple elements. They've added magic, essentially, in the form of chi, which, again, please read the write-up, because if you're interested in the true scope of the cultural impact of this, please read the write-up. But they've added a couple plot lines. They've extended it out. I think the other big thing is the animated version is rated PG. This version is rated PG-13. There's a lot of murder. There's a whole lot of murder in it. But it's not gory, violent enough that an adult would be like, yeah, this is really interesting. The choreography is okay. It wants to be a Hong Kong wire fu movie. It doesn't quite get there. The acting is fine. I think everyone does a decent job. There are a couple people who are absolutely squandered in their roles. Jet Li plays the Emperor, and he's wasted. You could have picked anybody else to do that role pretty much, and it would have been fine. It didn't have to be Jet Li. Donnie Yen does an amazing job, I think. He's the person who is best cast and utilizes his skill set. Jason Scott Lee plays Bori Khan, who is kind of our big bad. Gong Li she's my favorite addition to the movie. She plays this new character who's kind of a witch who I think provides an interesting contrast to Mulan, and I had a lot of frustrations about where that goes, but I'm not going to spoil it because that will be kind of the only new thing that you'll be getting from it if you're familiar with the animated one. And then we have newcomer to Western audiences, Liu Yifei, as Mulan. I think she does a good job. I know there's a lot of political complications about her. I'm just going to review this movie for the purposes of this from a purely, hopefully, quasi-objective acting standpoint. She carries the film fine. Niki Caro directs. It's fine, right? It's fine. So, again, not going to hit you in the nostalgia bone. And then in terms of, if this were to be the first time you're introducing Mulan to kids, they're going to have to be older kids unless you really don't care and you're going to let them see all this murder and violence and whatever. And it's not super gory. It's not HBO style, blood, guts, gore, etc. But it's definitely violent. And so it's weird in that kind of limiting audience factor. And then if you have no affinity or no affiliation with Mulan, you were an adult when the animated one came out and you were watching this version, I feel like it's too PG. It's not good enough to be like, yes, I really, really love this movie. It's just ma ma hoo hoo, which is just meh in Chinese. Again, I think if I was reviewing this for a theatrical release, I would be giving it a different score, at least a different suggestion. But because I'm reviewing it for, you can watch it from the comfort of your home. You can get snacks. You can watch it again for I think 48 hours. Go ahead and watch it and support it. But I'm only going to give it 3.5 out of 5. And then the other film is The New Mutants. And oh my God. Okay, so Mulan I have a ton to say about, and I wrote a bunch of it, and you will definitely get to hear more about that coming up soon. But for New Mutants, one, good luck trying to see this movie. It was almost impossible to see. It's in theaters and actual theaters. It's also rated PG-13, but I feel like it wanted to be an R-rated movie, but couldn't get it approved, and so it had to dial everything back like Mulan did. And so it's just this kind of weird in between. The acting is, oh my God, it's not good. This whole movie is just not good. And I am a fan of the X-Men universe. I'm not super familiar with these characters. I tend to try and keep in mind who these are made for. This one, don't know who it was made for. It's not made for Marvel fans. It's not made for like layman audiences because it's just so confusing and it doesn't have any. I've never seen so much exposition. Like there's one character and her dialogue is just all exposition. Like sometimes I'm like, who are you talking to? I don't even feel like there's another character in the room and you're just kind of talking to no one. And it's not like there's cameras listening. You're just talking for the sake of talking. So this is not worth, I don't even know if I would not pay money for this. Please don't. In spite of a cast of like Anya Taylor-Joy, Maisie Williams, Charlie Heaton, these are a couple big names who are in some big franchises, right? You got Game of Thrones, you got Stranger Things. I promise you that Disney wanted to bury this, and that is why they've released it only theatrically instead of doing the Mulan route and testing it out on like a Disney Plus. And there's a whole complicated acquisition story here. And the fact that this is technically speaking the last of the X-Men related movies in the 20th Century Fox canon, and that this is what it actually goes out on, is just so bad. Like, I thought Dark Phoenix was going to be bad. This is worse. So don't see New Mutants, even when it comes out. Let's put it out of its misery. Take it out into the backyard, I'm only going to give it 1.5 out of 5.